"You can't stop progress, Mr. Hale. People want this." That's what she said, standing at the edge of my fence line with her clipboard tucked under one arm and sunglasses hiding her eyes, like progress was something you could hear breathing behind you in the dark. I didn't answer right away. I was leaning on the top rail, watching the herd drift toward the water trough. 42 head of Angus, black shapes moving like a slow river across the grass. The cicadas were starting up in the trees. Evening light, that long gold that makes everything feel honest. If you like the video, please subscribe. "I'm not trying to stop anything," I finally said. "I'm asking you not to put a festival against a working cattle fence." She smiled like I'd told a joke. "I've lived on this land for 12 years. Quiet years, predictable years. I wake before the sun, boil coffee in the old enamel pot, step out onto the porch while the fog still clings to the pasture. I check fences, walk the north boundary, make sure the creek gate hasn't drifted again. I talk to the cattle more than I talk to people, not because I'm lonely, because animals don't posture, they don't angle for leverage. The nearest subdivision came 5 years ago, vinyl siding, tidy mailboxes, identical maple trees planted like soldiers, and HOA sprang up almost immediately. At first, it barely brushed my life. Some kids would wave at the fence, a jogger might stop and take a picture of the cows, harmless curiosity. Then the flyers started showing up in my mailbox. Spring Community Festival, food trucks, bounce houses, live music. Location, Meadow Ridge Commons, which, according to their cheerful map, meant the strip of HOA-owned green space that ran directly along my eastern fence line. I drove over to the HOA office the next morning. Small prefab building, fake stone facade, a flag snapping too loudly in the wind. That's where I met Karen Whitlow, HOA president, former event planner, permanent smile. I explained calmly. Cattle spook easily. Loud music, crowds, balloons, generators, that's stress on animals and stress on fences. If a fence gives, you don't get chaos in a cute way. You get 1,200-pound animals making decisions at speed. She listened with her head tilted slightly, like a customer service rep trained to look sympathetic without conceding anything. "We'll have security," she said, "and temporary barriers." "Temporary barriers aren't cattle-rated." She smiled again. "They'll be fine." That's when something shifted. Not loud, not dramatic, just the subtle click of someone deciding your concerns don't matter. I sent an email that night outlining liability concerns. I referenced county agricultural codes. I attached photos of the fence line and terrain. I asked for a buffer zone or relocation. No response. 2 days later, survey flags appeared 5 feet from my fence. I walked the line and felt that old tightening in my chest, the one that comes when something is wrong but not yet broken. The realization settled, quietly and firmly. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was intentional. The next week, a notice went up on the HOA board accusing me of obstructing community enrichment. My name wasn't printed, but everyone knew. Someone posted in the neighborhood Facebook group that I was anti-family and hostile to progress. A woman I'd waved to for years suddenly crossed the street when she saw me at the feed store. I kept everything measured, documented every interaction, dates, screenshots, photos. I emailed again, certified letter this time, still no reply. Then the HOA sent me a formal notice accusing me of having an unsafe fence encroachment onto their property. I laughed when I read it, out loud, alone in the kitchen. My fence had been surveyed 3 separate times over the years. I had the plats. The pins were still in the ground. But now the tone had shifted. They weren't just ignoring me, they were building a narrative. I hired a local surveyor to re-verify boundaries. He confirmed what I already knew. Fence was legal, inside my line. I forwarded the report. Karen responded with a single sentence. "Our legal counsel disagrees." legal counsel for a neighborhood bake sale committee with delusions of grandeur? That's when I started digging. Public records, HOA filings, vendor contracts, permit applications. It didn't take long. The festival permit hadn't been properly approved. Variants hadn't cleared county review. Temporary power hookups weren't inspected. Worse, the HOA had contracted Karen's sister's event company without disclosure. Inflated invoices, questionable insurance certificates. Sloppy, arrogant. I looped in my cousin Mark, county code enforcement officer in a neighboring district, not to pull strings, just to explain process and thresholds, what triggered inspections, what documentation mattered. Meanwhile, the HOA escalated. They staked tent anchors closer to my fence. Heavy equipment drove along the boundary, compacting soil near the posts. My south corner post loosened slightly. I reset it myself at dusk, jaw tight, hands steady. Then came the rumor that I was planning to release my cows onto the festival. That one stung. I don't play games with animals or people's safety, but the story spread fast. People looked at me differently now, suspicion layered over fear. I felt the isolation settle in like winter. 2 nights before the festival, someone cut my eastern gate latch. Not enough to open it, just enough to weaken it. I replaced it and added a trail camera angled down the fence line. Quiet insurance. The morning of the festival arrived warm and windless. Sound carried far. Generators hummed. Music testing thumped faintly through the pasture. Balloons bobbed above the tents like bright warnings. I walked the fence one last time. Everything looked solid. But cattle feel things before we do. The herd was restless, heads up, ears twitching. They kept drifting toward the far end of the pasture, away from the noise. Pressure building like a held breath. I stood there a long moment, weighing something heavy in my chest. Then I walked back to the house. By noon, the place was packed. Food trucks, kids screaming, a DJ cranking bass. The temporary barriers were plastic crowd fencing, the kind meant for guiding people, not animals. I was on the porch when it happened. A sharp metallic crack, like a rifle shot. Then shouting, then the deep thunder of mass moving all at once. One of the fence posts, the one loosened by heavy equipment, finally gave way under the shifting pressure of the herd reacting to a balloon popping inside the festival grounds. A chain reaction. The weakened section collapsed inward like a zipper tearing open. 42 head of startled cattle surged forward in confusion, driven by instinct and noise and the sudden open path. They didn't charge people, they flowed. Through tents, over plastic barriers, past toppled tables, a rolling wave of black muscle and dust and panic. Screams pierced the air. Karen's voice cut through everything, high, shrill, furious. "My festival! Someone stop them!" I was already on the phone with emergency services, voice steady, reporting livestock breach and crowd evacuation. The herd exited just as fast, funneling toward the open field beyond once the pressure released. No serious injuries, some bruises, a lot of ruined equipment, and a whole lot of witnesses. By sunset, the HOA site looked like a storm had passed through. Shredded banners, crumpled tents, mud tracked everywhere. Karen stood in the wreckage screaming into her phone. I quietly uploaded my trail cam footage to multiple backups. The next morning, Karen held an emergency HOA meeting. Public, loud, accusatory. She blamed me for negligence, claimed I'd sabotaged the fence, said my animals were weapons. I didn't attend. Instead, I emailed the county permit office, code enforcement, and the HOA's insurance carrier with a calm summary and attached documentation. Survey reports, email chains, photos, trail cam footage of HOA contractors driving heavy equipment against the fence line, and someone tampering with the latch days earlier. Permit discrepancies, conflict of interest contracts. I didn't editorialize. I let the facts breathe. Karen, meanwhile, went on a local Facebook rant declaring she'd destroy me legally. She accidentally posted screenshots of internal HOA emails discussing how to push him until he caves and joking about cutting costs on safety barriers. Overconfidence makes people sloppy. The county shut down the HOA's operations pending investigation within 48 hours. Inspectors arrived, audits began, insurance froze coverage, the unpermitted electrical hookups triggered additional scrutiny. Karen was asked to step down temporarily. She refused. That lasted about a week. The conflict of interest contracts alone were enough for civil penalties, but then the trail cam footage surfaced, showing her brother-in-law cutting my gate latch while wearing an event company shirt. Intent shifted the entire narrative. Law enforcement got involved. Charges followed: vandalism, reckless endangerment, fraud. The HOA board dissolved under pressure and restructured under county oversight. Karen stopped making eye contact in public. A year later, the green space sits quiet again. No festivals, just grass and wind and the occasional kid flying a kite far from the fence. My fence is reinforced now. Steel posts, deeper anchors, quiet confidence in its line. The herd grazes peacefully. The mornings returned to fog and coffee and cicadas. The land exhaled. Justice didn't arrive with sirens and speeches. It arrived with paperwork, accountability, and the slow correction of imbalance. That's how real things heal. I learned something in all of it. Silence isn't weakness. Patience isn't surrender. And standing your ground doesn't always mean raising your voice. Sometimes it means letting the truth stand tall enough to be seen. Have you ever had to quietly hold your line when someone tried to push past it?